Chini, 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 chini. Nitoa kwako Bwana. Chini, 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 chini. Have you seen that song on Facebook?
I'm not sure if I want to see it.
It's that one, the favorite one of yours. It's that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, tell us.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't remember the song. Najua tu part ya Oya. So guys,
that's our favorite 2020 songs.
Karibuni sana.
The sun is setting.
Happy 2020.
20!
This is our first video of 2020. Now, we don't waste your time with a lot of halabalus.
And don't clap a lot.
Okay. I'm not going to clap a lot.
Change your behaviors in 2020.
Yes. So, we have an interesting new series that we are doing this year.
Very.
It's called What We Know For Sure.
Yes.
And the first episode is actually what we did for our anniversary back in August. And guys, we are sorry. We are sorry. Some of you, we met someone who quarreled us. Akisema, you guys, mbona mjeka content? And we're like, we're planning. Yeah, stop putting photos if you're not putting content the next week. So we're like, sorry, man. So finally, it's because we wanted to gather all the episodes first, so that we start releasing them pole. We didn't want that thing of we started a series, we've shot one piece, and then we've stayed an entire month again. Because some of the episodes we are shooting with, we are shooting with other guests.
Yeah,
we'll be having other people. So sometimes when they are not available, it tends to drag the entire thing. So
yeah. Okay, guys, welcome again to this channel. Sorry so much.
Sorry a lot.
Sorry a lot for missing in action.
Poleni sana.
Poleni sana. Sorry a lot for mixing. Why we've fallen out of love? We've fallen out of the craft of making videos, honestly.
I haven't.
Okay.
You've fallen out.
Me, I'm not sure. Anyway, happy 2020. We have so much coming. As we normally promise. Okay, honestly, this time round, we promise to be very consistent. I know we are adjusting on so many different levels. But yeah, we start off 2020 with the series that Chris has talked about. So we decided to
Chenye Katis amesema. Series Katis has talked. Guys, I think we need to invent our own dictionary of how we say things.
But
anyway, so three things, and these three things tied to the series that we are starting. And by the time we are done with these three things, you'll know exactly what our series is about. Three things on how to have, I don't want this topic to sound cliche, but I'll just say it, because that's the easiest way for us to understand. Three things of how to have a good marriage. Now, disclaimer, we are not putting this content as though we are We're not putting this content as though we are experts in marriage. We are not putting this thing as though we figured it all out. We are just students like everyone else who's married out there. We're just learning on the job. It's just that for us, we've decided to put our learning journey in the public.
yeah.
So as you're engaging with us, let it be a conversation. Don't let it be like, hey, the experts have spoken.
We're not.
Yeah, so
We are none of that.
three things of how to have a good marriage. Number one, obey the principles. I remember when I was a bit younger, and I grew up religiously believing that only Christians have good marriages. I believed that only Christians have good marriages. If you are not a Christian, your marriage must be horrible and all that. But now when we started dating with Soila and we started approaching that journey for getting married, it's like God started to open my eyes to certain things. He started to expose me to certain culture, certain people. And that's when, it was bothering me, because I was like, okay, God, what's happening here? Because I was beginning to see people who are not Christians, but their marriages seem to be going somewhere. Their marriages were actually flourishing. And on the flip side, I would see people who are Christians, but their marriages are struggling. And that's when God started to introduce me to the reality of Matthew 5:45, when he says that he makes it rain or shine on the wicked and the righteous. In other words, when God causes it to rain, or when he causes the sun to shine, the sun doesn't come and select that, yeah, this one is wicked, I will not shine on them. This one is righteous, I will rain on them. It hits everybody. And when you go back to Genesis 1, when God created the sun, moon, and the stars, there's a place where he says that these lights shall be a token or a symbol of God's provision. In other words, as long as... stop it. No, Jomenishtua, now I've lost my
You guys, it's daylight.
No, in my mind I was in another room. Okay. So umeingia tu kwa mlango tu kwa.
Me, I'm out of it. I'm not part of that room.
No, I was coming out.
Out, okay.
So, sasa wana nimepotea. In other words, as long as you are under the sun, as long as you are under the sun, as long as you are under the sun, there's a level of God's provision that will hit you, whether you're righteous or not. In other words, God decided that because I am such a good God, I'm going to create a system whereby even those who don't like me, even those who don't believe in me, they will benefit. They'll find a way to benefit from that system. And basically these are principles. So God has designed it in such a way that there are certain principles, regardless of what your belief system is. If you apply that principle, it will work for you. Now, if we bring that context into the place of marriage, there are certain principles of marriage that it doesn't matter what your belief system is. Whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Hindu, whatever, whether you are an atheist, it doesn't matter what your belief system is. As long as you apply that principle, all of you are going to get the same result. Yeah.
Obey the principle. I'm laughing because Curtis is so passionate about teaching. So he talks with everything, saliva, the hands, everything. I'm just being hit by breath and saliva here. And he too, it's me dodging some of these things.
God is not a respecter of persons. He's a respecter of principles. In other words, when God wants to bless a marriage, he doesn't come and say like, hey, manze, this is Soila and Curtis. These guys are a brand. Let me just bless them because they are a brand. God doesn't think like that. When God comes to bless a marriage, he goes like, okay, so what principles are these guys operating in? He looks, then he says, aha, forgiveness. These guys are really good at forgiving each other. So because there's a principle of forgiveness in their marriage, I'll bless that. He comes and says, what principle is working here? Service. These guys love to serve each other without complaining. That is a principle. I'll bless that. And a principle is not something you do occasionally. It's not something you forgive or once in a while. It is a culture that is consistent. Like every day it has to be expressed.
Principles.
So that's key number one.
Yeah.
Know the principles, obey them. And on the flip side, when you disobey the principle, it works against you. That's the flip side. When you obey it, it works to your advantage. When you disobey it, you will pay for it. So number one, obey the principles. Next. Higher.
Option at your option. It's not like a multi choice. What do you call it? So principle number, is it principle? No. What do you say? Things.
Keys.
Key number 2. Kifunguo za kuingia ndoa mzuri. Key number 2 is definitely not yourself and your spouse not being an island. They say a man is not an island. Like, you have to have relationship with other people. And when we say relationship with other people, there's a place where you benefit. There's a place where you grow when you fellowship with other people who are married, people who are having the same values as you do, and people who understand marriage or they respect marriage in the same level that you respect marriage. Also, those ones who've gone before you in as far as marriage is concerned. And like, you help each other grow. There are so many things that you'll pick up from your friends and people you work with in your community that you are struggling with. Or there are some things that you just quantum leap because you've worked with people who've gone before you. You can't say you and yourself are set aside. Me and my spouse only, we do things like this and like that. So we do not need other people in our lives. You will prosper more, you will grow richer in your relationship if you're working with people who are of the same mindset in as far as marriage is concerned. I mean, if you value marriage, then look for these people. You can actually have people, I'm not saying just go out and find a community of people you want to work with, of a group of friends you want to work with in as far as marriage or relationship, whatever it is. Hata kama ni biashara, the people you work with when it comes to biashara that will help you grow in your biashara. So also in marriage, it's the same thing. It applies. You can't be an island. You have to relate with other people who are also doing marriage for you to learn from them and they to learn from you. I mean, you don't have to go through. There's some things you pick from other people that will help you prosper, and you don't have to struggle with them for such a long time just because you have been in a context of relationship with men who are in the same journey with you.
Just to add to what she said, she's brought it out really well. There's this saying that people usually say that if you hang out with 4 broke people, you'll be the 5th broke person. If you hang out with 5 wise men, you'll be the 6th wise man. In other words, you are always a combination or a factor of the people that you work with. You know, as iron sharpens iron, so does man sharpen another man. There are certain things, vile tu Soila amesema, there are certain things that you get rubbed off on you simply because of the relationships you've cultivated. You know, in the same way we say bad company corrupts good morals, good company can correct bad morals. So there are certain things about marriage that you just pick up by hanging out with people who have figured this thing out. For example, let's say I'm struggling with, loving my wife. I really don't know how to love my wife. But then I can see that, this guy has figured out how to love his wife. The more I cultivate a relationship with this guy and I begin to see those things, it will just sort of rub off on me. That's the relationship factor.
Yeah.
So we are not saying that, you disregard every other person who doesn't seem to benefit you in your marriage. We're not saying you disregard your single friends, but just ensure that within your inner circle, there are people who you are learning things from.
Yeah. And honestly, in a relationship as well, there's intentionality when it comes to learning, because you can actually work with advice people, but your mind is logged off in as far as you learning from them or them learning from you. So it's good to be intentional.
You have to be deliberate.
Yes, when it comes to picking some of these aspects that are working for them, that you think can also work for you. It does not mean that you copy their culture of marriage or copy their culture of doing things. It's just you understanding the principle, as Curtis was saying, that they're applying that is helping them prosper in a particular area. So you just take that, apply it in your own context and in your own way, in your own style, in your own culture, and see how it's going to work. It's not about copy pasting what other people are doing. It has to be you have to use also wisdom when it comes to relationships. When you're in those relationships, use wisdom and also be deliberate in
about what you're picking.
Yeah.
Key number 3. This is simply about your relationship with God.
Have a relationship with God, your marriage.
There are certain things you learn in life, not because you read about it, not because you've hung out with people, but because you've been able to cultivate a relationship with God such that God has been able to help you even in that matter. And a very good example is someone like Apostle Paul. Now, every church you go worldwide, and not even church, even some counseling areas that are not necessarily Christian by nature, some of the principles that they will teach you about marriage are things that Apostle Paul wrote about and preached about. Now, my question to you is this. How many years was Apostle Paul married?
He was not married.
He was not married. But the wealth of wisdom and knowledge and understanding about marriage he had, the wealth of mysteries that he was able to understand because of how deep his relationship with God was, that was what was able to help. And that's why sometimes you really need to be careful, because sometimes I meet people who criticize you've been married 1 month, what do you know? You've been married 2 months, what do you know? You want to criticize someone because of, according to your standard of what maturity is, they've not reached there in terms of time. But sometimes it's not really about time, because you can get a couple who've been married for 10 years. But the capacity that they've cultivated is only a capacity for people who've been married for 2 years. In terms of time, they've done 10 years. But in terms of capacity, because of their relationship with God, they only have the capacity and the strength of a 2-year-old marriage. And the flip side, you can find people who've been married for 2 years. But because of how deep they've gone with God, they have a wisdom and a capacity of a marriage that has been there for a decade. So sometimes it's not always wise to judge things by, the standards that we look on the outside. Oh, this guy is 1 year old, 5 years old. Listen to the content and look at the lifestyle that this person lives. Because there are things you benefit because of your relationship
with God.
Because remember, there's something unique about your marriage that no any other marriage in this universe can be able to, you know, echo, can be able to copy. And at that place, it's only God who can be able to help you. Principles can apply across the board, but there's that unique thing about your marriage that it's only God who can be able to help you sort of. The reason we are bringing this out is because the series we are doing, we have a couple of guests who you might disregard them because of the time you think they've done or because of how young they look. But I want to tell you to just be patient with them. Listen to the content of what these guys have to share. Some of them have not been married for long, but the depth and the capacity they have, because of all this, they are working in all these 3 keys that we've shared. You'll be able to benefit from them.
From them.
So for us, our recommendation for this video, what we have to advise, is it the relationship that is important? Is it the people you hang out with, the people you fellowship and relate with? Or is it your relationship with God? Our advice,
don't choose.
Have the entire fruit salad. Eat buffet. Everything. Eat the buffet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Enjoy.
Eat.
What has been set before you.
Principles, fellowship with like-minded people, your relationship with God, love God, kila kitu, just have the whole thing here.
Your hands are out of reach.
Mixed dish. Njera, maragwe, nyoyo, mix everything up.
Bye guys. See you on the next video.
Mensumbua.
No. Okay, now let me
No, you've actually disturbed me.
Babe, the video has to be shut. Let me rub you.
Don't touch me.
Okay, please.
No! So, our advice and recommendation for this video. So, our advice, usiniangalie hivyo, umekwenda kumsumbua.
Kwenda huko.
So, no.
Why?
Wacha kumsumbua.
Let me just do
Babe, you know people told you to stop disturbing me.
It's just a stroke.
I don't want.
It's for me.
I don't want. Stop
okay,
it.
Please allow me just do this.
No, touch me nikishaanza kuongea.
Okay, then I stop it.
And the reason I'm bringing this out is because this series that we are doing, we
are bringing this out.
The reason we are bringing this out, and this is why. I wanted to say something.
Is your breath bad? Umenuka tu saliva na njaa tena.
Wajui hivyo.
Mimi najua.
Ndio unawaambia.
Umenuka tu maanda. Shika sweetie.
Sitaki sweetie yako.
Shika. Acha nikuvunjie.
Kiss.
No.
Ni kiss afu ndio. Let me kiss.
No.
Babe.
You smell like saliva. I'm not kissing you.
Wewe brush meno, look at yourself.
Yeah.
When?
In the morning.
When?
When you saw me, you
I live in this house.
But I brushed you.
You cannot lie with somebody you live with. I see you. I see when you go to the bathroom.
Which bathroom? There's another bathroom.
I see when you go and brush. I see.
Put your lips on that side.
So.
Sausage.
Yeah. So.
Sausage.
There are certain. So. So.
Start a sentence something else.
Kwa hivyo.
Kwa mavi. Okay. Honey, start the statement something else.